We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
It is warm and humid, going to stay that way all weekend long. So humid, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch the western half of South Dakota, mainly for some large hail, but also some damaging winds. That'll be in effect this evening. During the overnight hours, just warm and humid here in the eastern part of KELO, low 70s. Storms will approach the Pier area, then die out as they try and cross the river. During the day tomorrow, mostly sunny, warm and humid again. Highs upper 80s and low 90s with that humidity. Could leave some thunderstorms late today. Northern and western South Dakota, Sioux Falls will have to wait for thunder till Saturday. Your complete weekend forecast is coming up. KELOLAND News starts now.
Live from KELOLAND Media Group, KELOLAND News at 6.
Ready for a presidential visit and fireworks display at the Shrine of Democracy. But it's a visit some would rather see canceled. We share their concerns ahead on KELOLAND News at 6.
Good evening. It will be a historic day in the Black Hills. By this time tomorrow, President Donald Trump should be on his way to the celebration in South Dakota.
The president is coming for the first fireworks show at Mount Rushmore since 2009. We have team coverage from the Black Hills, and we begin with KELOLAND's Kelly Volk. She joins us live at the National Memorial. Hey, Kelly.
Yeah, Brady and Bridget, we're still 24 hours out from the main event, but it's already a pretty busy night here in the Black Hills. I drove through Keystone to get here. The town was packed with cars and people on the sidewalks. Now I'm here at Mount Rushmore, and we've got people coming and going just for a typical night at the monument. That all changes tomorrow, of course. This place closes down at midnight. It stays closed tomorrow to make way for the president, the fireworks show, and all of those ticket holders who will be coming to see him and the fireworks. We're going to be here for the whole thing, so we're going to bring you coverage of the addresses that are made to the crowd and the actual fireworks display. So be sure to join us right here on KELO TV and on KELOLAND.com. Reporting live at Mount Rushmore, Kelly Volk, KELOLAND News.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Well, retired superintendent of Mount Rushmore is actually calling Friday's fireworks show a terrible idea. Cheryl Schreier has written an op-ed published this week in the Washington Post saying the event should not take place because of the threat of wildfires and COVID-19. KELOLAND's Perry Groten spoke with Schreier, who says remnants of past fireworks shows were still turning up at the park years later.
Former Mount Rushmore Superintendent Cheryl Schreier says she's concerned Friday's fireworks show may spark a wildfire at the memorial.
Compounded by that is the fact that when you have that many people in one place, evacuating people in a quick fashion is just way too difficult.
Schreier served as Mount Rushmore superintendent from 2010 to 2019. She was involved in the decision to end fireworks shows 10 years ago.
It was a very prudent and responsible decision, knowing what we knew about fireworks and the damage that it could cause.
Schreier says as late as last year, she was still finding fireworks debris around the memorial.
Anytime it would rain, you would still find all of the debris from fireworks. Plastics, I've actually seen plastics that have been embedded in the sculpture itself in the front from fireworks.
But it's not just fire danger or environmental issues that have Schreier concerned. She says hosting thousands of people from across the country is a recipe for disaster when it comes to the coronavirus.
It could be a tragedy in the realm that nobody really knows what will happen after this event if people leave and contract the virus, expose all of the visitors and also all the employees.
Schreier says it's unlikely organizers will heed her advice to call off Friday's show, but she hopes her speaking out now will alert people to the potential risks. Perry Grote, KELOLAND News.
Schreier says it's ironic that organizers won't lower the number of people attending the event for the sake of social distancing, yet Mount Rushmore won't allow regular visitation for the entire day. You can read her entire Washington Post opinion piece by going to this story at KELOLAND.com.
And we'll continue our live coverage from the Black Hills in just a moment, but first, let's check on your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Jay.
Thanks, Bridget. Yep, I am here right outside of Ellsworth Air Force Base at the Air and Space Museum. So President Donald Trump will be arriving at around 6:45 Mountain Time tomorrow evening in Air Force One and at Ellsworth Air Force Base. So Ellsworth Air Force Base is just over 10 miles away from Rapid City and just over 30 miles away from Mount Rushmore. So once President Trump will arrive at Ellsworth Air Force Base, he will then head straight over to Mount Rushmore to view the fireworks display. So I will be here tomorrow evening covering the event for the arrival for you. Reporting live at Ellsworth Air Force Base, I'm Sydney Thorson, KELO News.
Hopefully good weather tomorrow. Thanks, Sydney. Well, tomorrow we will continue our live coverage of the presidential visit during KELO this morning. And as we just mentioned, we'll have news crews at Ellsworth Air Force Base and at the National Memorial for when President Trump arrives. He'll be able to watch live as the president touches down in South Dakota and when he speaks at Mount Rushmore. We will also carry the fireworks live on KELOLAND TV and on KELOLAND.com.
Western South Dakota is already filling up with tourists, but the eastern side of the state isn't expecting to profit from any runoff. To typically experience Sioux Falls, formerly the Sioux Falls Convention Visitors Bureau, would make a marketing push to attract those 4th of July travelers. However, it didn't this year, and there's a good reason why.
Thousands of people are driving to the Mount Rushmore area for the 4th of July weekend, featuring tomorrow's fireworks and presidential visit. Those visitors will need a place to stay, which means area hotels are booked, including all 107 rooms at Home to Suites.
The floodgates have opened. Everybody's running away from their lockdown and coming here.
Typically, Experience Sioux Falls would try to capture some of those holiday dollars. However, there's no big push this year to market the area.
To be really honest, it's a struggle. It's not great for morale.
Executive Director Terry Schmidt says the budget to market Sioux Falls comes from hotel tax dollars here. Though new hotels like Glow are doing well, Schmidt says most hotels in the city aren't getting the business they used to due to the pandemic.
Because we're used to being so aggressive and out there, but we've had to really pull back because when you have no money, you can't keep doing those things.
Schmidt estimates the marketing budget is down about 50%. However, she's optimistic. A few travelers going west will make a stop here in the east.
Everybody's always welcome to stop here, and we know some people will stop here.
Even though hotels in the Rapid City area, like Home to Suites, are busy, Grunendijk says that doesn't mean a big bonus in profits because many are still recovering from the first part of the year.
This is more digging out of a hole, putting some money in the bank to hopefully ride the storm. And again, the future is very uncertain.
Grunendijk says safety is still a priority for hotels and their staff members. He's asking all visitors to please be patient and respectful of the employees and any hotel safety guidelines.
Well, there is a new map that identifies the coronavirus risk in each state and county. South Dakota and the Sioux Falls area are in the yellow category, which is the next to lowest risk. Local public health director Jill Franken says the next few weeks will be important in the fight against the pandemic. A KELOLAND.com original story on our website now explores the risk factors and
final preparations for the Mount Rushmore 4th of July celebrations are underway, and in the past, while the event itself might have made headlines, the Democratic Party this week tweeted that tomorrow's event glorifies white supremacy. And they're not alone in voicing concerns about the monument's history, but others are stepping forward with why they feel this is one memorial that should not be removed or torn down.
People have different perspectives and opinions, and when they read history or when they absorb history, they draw their own reflections on that. And there's some people, my father used to take us there every year. We used to look forward to going to Mount Rushmore and going to Bear Butte and going to, we call it Mato Tipi. A more common term is Devil's Tower.
Some tribal leaders believe that a better understanding of the region's history could help reconcile a tragic past. Carly Wild takes a closer look for us tonight on Dakota News Now at 6:30 over on KDLT. Meanwhile, members of South Dakota's congressional delegation plan to be in attendance for tomorrow's event, which also features the president. We heard from Congressman Dusty Johnson earlier this hour on Dakota News Now. Senator Mike Rounds is also expected to be there. Although some have expressed concerns about the gathering during a pandemic, Senator Rounds says it comes down to common sense.
That I'll be there with a mask on, and I will try to set an example for others who wonder whether it's appropriate to have a mask on or not. I think it is, and I think we use good old South Dakota common sense when it comes to the precautions that we take.
Governor Noem has said free masks will be provided at Mount Rushmore, but people will not be required to wear them or practice social distancing. This time of year, it is no surprise that you'll probably see and hear a lot of fireworks in the area, but with that usually comes some community complaints. Miranda Page checked it. Close.
Mount Rushmore, there is no question, it is a magnificent work of art. Millions from around the globe have come to see and experience the monument for themselves since work began in 1927, and to learn about the four faces carved into stone. But to think about a future for Mount Rushmore, both Tamara St. John, a tribal historian for the Sisseton-Wahpeton Oyate, and a state legislator, and current Secretary of Tribal Affairs for the state of South Dakota, David Flute, say we must all better understand and reconcile with its true past, because there is far more to how Mount Rushmore came to be than what is in most of our history books. The land it sits on, along with the Black Hills, were given to the Sioux by Congress in 1868 through the Fort Laramie Treaty. Gold found in the hills, however, led to a series of conflicts and the ultimate taking of the land by the U.S. government in 1877. To this day, ownership of the Black Hills and the land Mount Rushmore sits on remains the subject of a legal dispute between the U.S. government and the Sioux.
As far as rectifying that situation, my feelings are I'm very pro-sovereignty, and that the tribes that signed the treaty that gave them that land, the sacred Black Hills, it has to be discussed with them, between them and the American government, how that is resolved. It's a legal document.
But the monument itself, as calls grow for it to possibly even come down, Secretary Flute offers this perspective.
Like how my father and my parents as a family would share, I'll share this with you about Abraham Lincoln. He's known as, the president to free the slaves and how all that came about. But he's also the president that had to make a decision because of the Dakota conflict, and 300 and some Dakotas were taken as prisoners down the Mississippi, down to St. Louis, and then back up the Missouri and left in Crow Creek. And at that time, he had ordered the execution of 38 Dakotas. And so it's history, it's difficult history, but my father would use that monument as a teaching tool that, yes, this man freed the slaves, he did some great things, but he also had ordered the execution of 38 Dakotas. But my dad just didn't end it at that. And he didn't criticize any of the four faces up there, but he expanded on it. You have to make decisions sometimes that are difficult decisions. They might not be, you might not feel it's in your best interest, but when you're looking at the broader picture, it's in the best interest. And it's unfortunate, but if you've been in a situation where you've had to make a decision that a person's life is at stake here to bring balance to, it's not easy. And so I would argue, as a public historian, every one of those presidents, every president in the United States, every chairman has had to make a difficult decision. Every leader on the battlefield has had to make a difficult decision that is sometimes unhealthy in other people's perspectives because they haven't been there.
I'm all about educating, and my personal feelings about any statue, monument, I've never advocated for the destruction. I can certainly understand its value as in American history and how it's widely understood by many, but to add the tribal history to it, let's totally look at that, allow that tribal voice to be heard, and be a part of the interpretation of that site. And I think it's something that I work with regularly with the National Park Service and on the state level with institutions such as the historical societies. I think those things can be done.
Carleen Wild reporting for us tonight. By the way, in 1942, the U.S. Court of Claims reheard the case the Sioux originally brought against the U.S. government in 1920 for unconstitutionally taking the Black Hills. The ruling in that case was yes, that is what happened, and it entitled the Sioux to just compensation. The Sioux Nation to date has not yet accepted that award. Going to be a hot time in the Old Town tonight, muggy too. Phil Schreck's first alert forecast when we come back on Dakota News Now at 6:30.
Those who served with honor, led with courage, and took this great nation into the future. Their words, deeds, and legacies will survive time immemorial. America's worst president will neither be remembered nor revered.
No, I don't take responsibility at all if we were given a...
He will be forgotten
Next
as quickly as we can. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.